Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert, back with another gear review, and this time something a little bit different. This down here is the product we're looking at. This is the Tascam MiniStudio Creator, a very, very cool alternative spin on the audio interface. Now, it's been audio interface central round here recently, and this thing is very, very different. The MiniStudio Creator, and there's the giveaway, is much more aimed at the sort of the internet DJ, the podcaster, someone making material for video, not really audio based. However, it is still a music product. There is still music kind of elements to it, but it's very much more, I think, based around human voice, spoken word, and capturing it and being able to broadcast it. And that's where this thing is very cool. It's not just a straight into your DAW recording interface. In this case, we actually are recording straight to Pro Tools because we need to show you the kind of the recording element of it. But hey, it'll all make sense when we get deeper into this thing. But for now, so up close and personal on the MiniStudio Creator. It's a very simple thing to get up and running and set up. Top panel is very, very simple. We have two XLR combi jacks. We have our two volume and input selection controls. It also feeds phantom power automatically. We can use a radio mic via a line input, and we can have the high impedance guitar input for instruments. We then have a volume control for each one. We then have this one here. Now this is the reverb control. And as I turn it up, you can hear I get some reverb on my voice. Very, very nice. This is one of those features that suggests much more of a musical application rather than maybe dodgy radio DJ, but it could be quite good fun to give you that kind of ambience in a space. Maybe it's something you want to use on a video production. Down here we have the two controls for our outputs. Our output to speakers, which is on a pair of phono jacks on the back, and our output for our headphones. Three headphone jack outputs. A conventional 1/4 inch, a mini jack, and then a split pair of mini jacks if you've got one of those pairs of headphones that has two separate outputs. We then have a mini jack input for some kind of auxiliary sound device, be that an iPad, an iPhone, other brands of mobile phone are available. And then we have this switch down here between Creator and Broadcast. We'll come back to that in a minute. We're in broadcast mode at the moment. Now, we have here the on-air button. Now, as it suggests, the broadcast mode is where the on-air button comes into its own. If I keep talking, you're going to hear me through the lav mic, which is hooked up to the other Pro Tools system. But I'm going to go off-air on the system that's being recorded behind me. So if I keep talking now, talking, I've gone, and now I'm back. Very handy if you just need to mute the whole system very quickly because something's going wrong, or because you just don't want to record this particular bit out into your broadcast. We then have an effects button and 3 PON buttons. Now, for the life of me, I cannot find out, nor in the large number of people I've asked, what PON stands for in this case. However, I've got them set up as some sound effects. Thank you. Some more sound effects. And I've told a few of those jokes in my time. And a bed. So if I was doing a kind of radio program or some kind of really cool internet-y thing, I could have a bed and talk over the top of it. It's going to automatically loop because I have that set up in my preferences. I can stop it and start it from the beginning again. Very, very cool. Now, here is the effects button. And if I turn the effects button on, you can hear I've got a kind of chopper effect. And we'll get into that when we go over to look at the software up close. But for now, that's the front panel. Around the back, we have our phono outputs, which we can use to link into a pair of speakers, or into a hi-fi, or into a mixing desk. We have the main on-off power switch. We have the connection for the USB to your PC or Mac. And we also have a mini USB connection, which allows us to run out to a tablet. So if we're running something like Aria on the iPad, we can actually power the unit from the battery of the iPad and record straight into Aria that way. Very, very cool. Jumping over to my Mac now, you can see we have the Tascam MiniStudio software. Now, the reason you can see the Pro Tools timeline recording behind is because I want you to see exactly how much effect the on-air button has and where it's having effect and all that kind of stuff. It kind of makes more sense if you can see what's going on. So at the moment, I'm talking into the microphone, I'm talking into my WA87, and if I hit on air and turn it off, and you can still hear me through the lav mic, but the signal from the MiniStudio has been cut off. So if I turn it on again, and I'm back in the room. Or actually, back in the room. So having a quick look around the software, we're currently in easy mode. There's easy and expert, we'll come on to that in a minute. And we can see the software version, the firmware, the device, and the sample rate. Down here we have our 2 input microphones, which we can select. And we have a sound setting. Now this is basically a preset set of tweaks to make the voice sound better. So if I'm fairly loud and up close with it off, if I choose hard vocal, it resets the EQ, resets the built-in compressor, and it all sounds a bit more in your face. Softly spoken works much better if you're up close and personal. And of course, we can turn it all off for when we're using an instrument input. So in the middle of the Tascam MiniStudio control panel, we have the effects section. This is where things get fun, folks. Let's hit radio. If I turn it on,
I sound like I'm on the end of some dodgy walkie-talkie connection or something really, really terrible. It's horrible.
Echo. Pretty much. Speaks for itself.
Now this one I'm quite concerned about, because I thought I sounded like a bloke beforehand, but by hitting male, we now get this kind of dodgy, almost non-human voice.
And once again, I'm quite concerned about female as well, because I'm pretty sure I don't sound like that.
And there's a chopper, just to make it sound like you're in a helicopter. Very silly, but a lot of fun, I think you'll agree. Now down here, we have our 3 PON button load areas. We have the main volume for the PON button, we have whether we're choosing to loop it or not, and we can choose to load sound effects or music in. So I'm going to go to my music folder and I'm going to find something that I know is not going to get me in trouble. And I can play that back. And once again, I can talk over the top of the bed if I want to. Stop it. Start it again. In expert mode, things do genuinely get a whole lot more expert. First of all, I'm going to make my monitoring output genuinely stereo. It's a lot more fun. And I'm going to look at mic number 1, which is where I'm plugged into. I've got a pretty powerful EQ. We also have a compressor. Now in the effects section, let me choose echo and turn it on. I now have a parameter control, which means I can change the way the echo actually comes across, whether it's really short, pingy, or starts to sound like actual echo. And it's really hard to talk with that going. We also can change the reverb type and the type of location and the type of room. So let's go to Hall and wind up the reverb. We also have a lot more control over the PON buttons. I can latch them. I also have a certain amount of control over the velocity. So if I hit the applause quite gently, that's okay, but if I hit it quite hard, enough, thank you. This thing, it has to be said, is a lot of fun. Now, there's a few other tricks up its sleeve in broadcast mode. What I can do, because it's got this kind of loop back feature always engaged in broadcast mode, I can go into my iTunes library and play a track. And effectively I can DJ from iTunes, which is really, really handy. I think, to be honest, most of the time I would live in easy mode, because once you've got things set up in expert mode with your EQ and your compression for your voices, flick back over into easy mode and it just makes the whole GUI a lot simpler. And actually, you can do everything you need to do from easy mode. It's very, very cool. I've now switched over into creator mode. This is where the MiniStudio Creator becomes much more of a conventional audio interface. You can see for a start that I'm no longer broadcasting in stereo from the outputs of the device. I'm actually coming in on the left hand side because I'm plugged into channel number 1. Now, if you were just using this as an audio interface, this is the way I think it would work best. The on-air button now has no function whatsoever. And the PON functionality now only comes to my ears and what's going out front, again, not to the recording platform, which means you can't hear the nice bed that I'm talking along to. Also, the loop through functionality, so we can play music, no longer works. So there you go, that's the Tascam MiniStudio Creator. Now there is a slightly dinkier version, which is the MiniStudio Personal. It only has one XLR input, but in the place of the bar graph meter section, it has a high quality condenser mic, so you actually don't have to plug anything in at all to start broadcasting. Very, very cool unit. Really nice and light, nice and portable. The fact that you can battery power these off your iPhone or iPad is incredibly cool. I'm going to start using this on the podcast because it's a damn sight lighter and quicker to power up than it is to use this lot. And actually then, I can drop things like this in. Do you think Mike and the boys would mind? So, for now, my name's James Ivey, and I will see you again soon for some more gear talk.